Eric Bienemy, in the blink of an eye, he's gone. So is Juan Castillo, the O-line coach. In addition, UCLA also has Bienemy's replacement. From where? On Locked On UCLA.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Locked On UCLA podcast. I'm your host, Zach Andersen-Yoxsimer. Thanks for tuning in, making this your first listen each and every day. It's free wherever you get your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, download. Thanks for your support. This episode's brought to you by FanDuel. You can get a big return on FanDuel if you bet a $5 bet, win, and you get $150 in bonus bets. If you win that first $5 bet, go to FanDuel.com to get started. Of course, the news of the day, it's not necessarily portal related. It might have affected some things with the decommits, the flips, and some of the portal guys, which may return. Who knows? Eric Bienemy is gone. Where was I getting the news? I decided it was a fantastic day to go watch a 3-hour movie because nothing major would break on this day, right? We had early signing day. Everything hit that was going to hit, right? You know, I'm in the middle of the movie. Cool. I get out. Boom. Bienemy's gone. Boom. Juan Castillo gone. Boom. Oh, yeah, they got his replacement. 1, 2, 3. So, yes, you're going to hear some Wicked references in this show, all right? Because I wasn't defying gravity when I saw the changes. My jaw dropped, all right? And I think this move is going to be very popular. Now we're done with the Wicked references. Here we go. Eric Bienemy, he is absolutely gone, all right? Regardless of what he says in his joint statement, I think what did his agent say? I read it. Something like he views DESHAUN Foster as a brother. He was going to help him out. And that he was only meant to be at UCLA a year and then go to the NFL in 2025? Yeah, because you're going to be like an analyst of some sort, because UCLA had one of the worst offensive numbers in all the country, all right? As much as even the biggest hater of Chip Kelly ever, we can all agree Chip Kelly would have done much better with this offense than Eric Bienemy ended up doing with the same players, in my opinion, because he literally did. Even though Chip Kelly had worse numbers in 23 than he did in years previous, he did pretty much a lot better than the same thing Eric Bienemy had in 24. Obviously, some differences on the O-line, injuries. All right, but pretty much the same thing. Bienemy really sunk what UCLA's offensive potential was in 2024. All right, with a returning starting quarterback, a returning starting running back, a returning starting tight end that's really good, and some pretty lethal receiving options, including a young freshman like Quasi Gilmer, who was blown up too. And a large in part, a decent portion of the O-line returning from the year before. That could run the ball. That could run the damn ball. And that means Juan Castillo, who came with Bienemy, also left. It didn't say, or I did not read that it was fired. I think, what was it, Yahoo Sports who had the first news? I saw it first from Pete Thamel. Either way, Bienemy's gone. Don't let the statement fool you. UCLA got rid of him. Whatever. They mutually, okay, DESHAUN Foster probably wisened up, or he probably knew this, even though he had a presser the night before and said, I haven't really thought about staff changes yet. I'm still having my exit interviews. Yeah, the big bombshell was coming. Bienemy's out. All right? That's huge. That's a huge thing for UCLA to be like, hey, all right, year one, we're going to pivot. And not just pivot, we're going to do so immediately. Signing day, all right, maybe that cost him Madden, Iamaleava, and Jace Brown. Maybe UCLA didn't want them in the first place after they realized Bienemy's not their man. Okay, but the fact that not only they got rid of the offensive coordinator and the O-line, which was pretty much dismal in portions when it came to run blocking at some spots, and then you have the replacement. All right, UCLA has the replacement. It's Tino Sunseri, Indiana's QB coach and co-offensive coordinator, to become UCLA's offensive coordinator. He's going to stay with Indiana through the rest of the playoff, and UCLA is purging a now bitter Big Ten rival, and that is a huge get. I think that's a huge get. If you're looking for young and up and coming, all right, and you're like, all right, we went with an old guy, you know, in Bienemy's ranks. As much as we want to despise Bienemy now, I thought it was a decent choice. You want the big name. we all wondered what Deshaun Foster was going to do with his first hire. All right, they swung and missed on the first big hire. But I think this next one, getting Sunseri from Indiana, and all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, UCLA is getting a coordinator for one of the most up-and-coming programs in a one-year turnaround at Indiana under Curt Cignetti, with an offense that was pretty much clicking for a large portion of the year. And the only time it didn't really do much was against Ohio State. All right, that's not a bad thing. Indiana's done a lot, and they really pushed the door and were out-muscling and way more physical than UCLA's defense the time they came to the Rose Bowl and beat down the Bruins. All right? And UCLA's defense, we realized a lot after the Indiana game, was pretty darn good in some aspects, in some good statistical categories. And Indiana beat some of those numbers by the time the season averages came to an end. So to bring in a youngster, I was talking to the Locked On Who's Your Host, Jacob Goins. I texted him, I was like, hey, how do you say the guy's name? And he sent me the text. He's like, I am super mad right now because that's a huge hire. That's a great hire. That's what the Locked On Who's Your Host, Jacob Goins, said. That was what he sent me via text. Hey, yeah, that's a good hire for you guys. So Indiana is ticked off that UCLA got a guy like this. And that's going to help UCLA pivot not only to go get in the portal really quick, because they can go find a quarterback. They can go find other options they want. Maybe they might purge from other places in the Big Ten. Or they could simply, with Sunseri's blessing, or maybe Deshaun Foster realizing that, hey, some of these guys leaving the portal, he can get them back. That as much as the portal is a blessing and a curse, guys can still come back. Unlikely, but it happened for a couple of times for UCLA in this most recent season. At least 3 guys, I think, came back to UCLA after entering the portal prior to the 24 season. Now, this isn't a show to debate the merits of a Justin Martin or a TJ Harden or, a Logan Loya, right? That's all. UCLA has options and plans. And Deshaun Foster talked about, hey, we got the money to go get with our NIL budget a quarterback, and we're going to prove that. All right? And he wasn't thinking that these guys were going to go chase after a bag. Because UCLA's bag right now is being pushed towards Eric Bienemy, who had like a 500,000+ retention bonus if he stayed on past July of 2025. So the move is now. It's only a 2-year deal. I think maybe the thought was if Bienemy worked, and I thought, all right, big name hire. If it works, he's going to bolt for the NFL after a year. I didn't think this would be so bad that UCLA is going to have to pay him to literally leave. All right. I think it's a little slap in the face with that mutually agreed upon statements that, hey, we're helping out Deshaun. He needed help. Yeah, he certainly needed help, but you were the cause of UCLA needing a lot of help this year to Eric Bienemy. All right? That's what made this year so frustrating. But the fact that UCLA went out, turned around, and probably are axing their biggest weaknesses, think about the moves they made coaching-wise. In the blink of an eye, they stole a Michigan State coach who flipped a 4-star DB and brought him with him. And now UCLA's got a pretty decent DB class coming in this class of 25. And he's going to run the secondary. He's already worked at UCLA. He's got some ties with pretty good recruiting. Then you get rid of your, addition by subtraction by getting rid of the O-line coach or him leaving and then getting rid of Eric Bienemy. And all of a sudden, you bring in what Indy Star says, that was the report. I think it was Zach Osterman. So, same name, not the same face crew, but same name right there. Zach Osterman says Tino Sunseri is coming. And he was part of the staff that was able to make Curtis Rourke into a Heisman contender. All right. He came from the MAC. Blessing in disguise, of course, Cignetti knew all the skills, knew all those players, having worked through the system and James Madison. So now it's up to UCLA's ability to scout talent, develop talent, or maybe Sunseri is going to come in here and say, look at these quarterbacks you got in this room. You actually have somebody who can run an offense that's not complicated and stupid. All right. So maybe there is somebody already in this locker room because UCLA already signed quite a few quarterbacks. They already signed a Gamino coming in the class of 25, 24, 20. There's a lot of quarterbacks in this UCLA quarterbacking room that have no experience. And the hope is that without a complicated offense, the Bruins can all of a sudden go out and perform so much better. Because next year, the defense will be really young. really, really young. And I hope UCLA does not lose to Kaka Malloy, because he certainly proved his worth, sticking through everything, being promoted to defensive coordinator, which could have been seen as a cost-cutting move, going internal promotion. But in the end, he made his promotion worth it. All right. So UCLA's got to shell out money to make sure Malloy does not get stolen and poached. All right. Maybe USC is going to try and make him a defensive coordinator. UCLA's got to keep him, because if they lose another defensive coordinator and it's like the fifth guy in like 5 years, I'm sorry. How do you even recruit the defense at that point? How? A guy that's so passionate, that can recruit, that's now getting a staff that can recruit and is talented. And I think former UCLA players on social media were loving it from various eras, previous UCLA regimes, who could go recruit. And I think Michigan State was hurt. So the Bruins have poached 2 coaches from separate Big Ten foes and have turned them into what I think to be good hires, while getting rid of the negativity, getting rid of what was some of the worst part of 24. All right. While DeShaun Foster might not be bombastic, I'd like to give him credit for hopefully being intelligent, say I was wrong, or whatever his support staff is, all coming together, the think tank, realizing, hey, this did not work. And they've made their move. All right. So when Indiana finishes its postseason, Sunseri is supposed to come over to UCLA. So maybe, if you think about it, our biggest thing as UCLA fans, as a college football fan, I would like Indiana to win a lot of games, because that would be an awesome story. As a UCLA fan, and I think all UCLA fans, we should be rooting for Indiana to lose as soon as possible, or dare I say it, not to spite Indiana, but to help UCLA hope that Indiana doesn't even make the playoff, so Sunseri can come out and hope and help UCLA recruit immediately. All right? Because the more Indiana drags this out, it's going to be up to DeShaun Foster and the recruiting staff to be on the phone and trying to figure out who they want to be the next quarterback, or who to send packing and who to bring in and who to get in on the offensive line. Because, man, that was a quick turnaround from early signing. Early signing day, early in the day, I thought UCLA was going like this. They're going up. And then it just went down. And then with what they just did, they're going back up. So there's a vision, there's a hope, there's a plan. And now the big question is, how disciplined will UCLA's offense look next year? How much more disciplined will they look next year when they're not committing stupid false start penalties every freaking drive? Is that because they were inexperienced, they couldn't understand it, because the calls were too wordy, so they're just jumping too soon? Was there something off with the cadence for these plays? I wonder if UCLA looks so much more of a refined offense just by lack of penalties and simple execution, we will know immediately that the problem was Bieniemy. And UCLA just had to suffer through 1 year of that and still managed to go 5-7. And they could have been much better if maybe they did a different thing. All right, hindsight, perfect vision. Hindsight is always a perfect vision. They swung for the fences. They got the big name, but now they got the up and comer, and that is huge for UCLA to not only get rid of something. All right, you might call that a festering wound, whatever the offense was this year. Cut it off, and then have the answer immediately. All right, it's one thing to be like, hey, we're gonna get rid of this and we're gonna have a whole search. No, they made it happen. I think that's pretty baller. I think that's pretty baller. Now, of course, you have to see how he does at UCLA, new system, what he brings in. But we've already seen it with Indiana. And now he's going to have the reins to himself. And hopefully, it'll be much better than Bieniemy. I think many things can be better than what UCLA's offense was this year with the talent they had. Now they have less. And if he does more with less to begin with in the cupboard, then, man, I think UCLA can be set. First things first, run the dang ball. 2, find an offensive line. Those things go hand in hand. 3, obviously, and most importantly, got to get a quarterback who can do simple things, pitch and catch, maybe change a protection or two, and get it to these dynamic receivers UCLA has on their roster. Hopefully, it means quite a bit of the offensive players will stay. That's the hope. That's the dream. But UCLA, it's DeShaun Foster's team. All right. This episode brought to you by FanDuel. If you're a new customer, go bet $5 and you get $150 in bonus bets on FanDuel.com. Again, FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook. If you want to get in on the NFL action, then go check out FanDuel. Bet $5. If you win, you get $150 in bonus bets, only if you win that first $5 bet. Go check it out and make every moment more with FanDuel.com. I was going to come on here and talk about, all right, portal quarterbacks, all right, UCLA basketball. No, everything thrown to the wayside. And it means what I thought UCLA was going to go after in the portal. Now this, I think, opens up more, right? You probably couldn't have gone after a Matthew Sluka or a Jackson Arnold or, a Miller Moss. You were probably refined to what this offense could do. And I'm not sure the quarterback opportunities for some of the guys available at this moment were why, right? UCLA with the Eric Bienemy West Coast offense probably couldn't do anything with a dual threat like Matthew Sluka. And Jackson Arnold, highly rated, coveted freshman prospect, ran the ball a lot, but he's still a project and probably would not have thrived if UCLA decided to even take a flyer on him. All right, those are two kind of dual threat guys who can run the ball. That wouldn't have really, I think, thrived with what Bieniemy was trying to do. Miller Moss, maybe not necessarily, obviously he could have committed. I haven't seen that. I've been all focused. I've been in the theater. So obviously I'm not saying Miller Moss to UCLA, but you get the point. A pocket pass. There's only like one type of quarterback UCLA could have gone after, really. And now I think this opens up the door to many more possibilities. And maybe the best quarterback available to UCLA isn't even available. All right. I don't want to hear any Noah Fifita references because to my knowledge, he is not committed to going to the transfer portal, but there will be talented guys. And the guy that could be next year's Heisman front runner or top 5 is maybe out there. And all it takes is a bigger stage, the right opportunity, and the right player with the right offensive coordinator. A little bit of protection, a little bit of the ability to run the ball, and UCLA could hopefully be much improved offensively next year. And they didn't have to do much except addition by subtraction. That's the hope. That is the hope, by the way. All right. So get your hands up, Bruins fans. 8 clap time, baby. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA. UCLA. Fight, fight, fight. This has been Locked On UCLA. Stay with Locked On UCLA. Like, comment, subscribe, download. Thanks for your support. This has been Locked On UCLA. Zach signing off. Go Bruins.